Hi everybody, welcome to Pockets Full of Soup, the storytelling show. I'm your host, Jared Petty, and I'm joined today by two new friends on my left.
Shauna Uhilamailangi.
To her left.
Matt Mistley.
Excellent. And these folks are from StreetCode Academy. And I want to ask you, what is StreetCode Academy? I think it'd be best for you guys to describe it.
Sure. So StreetCode Academy started off as a dream of Shadi Barhumi and Rafael Cosman, along with Tunde Sabomahin. So Tunde and some community organizers in East Palo Alto, California, had this dream of basically bridging Silicon Valley and Stanford tech talent and or tech talent, like people who are very experienced in coding and different technical things, with the brilliance and the cultural brilliance and diversity of residents of East Palo Alto, who had been pretty excluded from the kind of extracurricular educational opportunities and things that a lot of folks in, I guess, the rest of Palo Alto and very usually affluent communities had gotten, and partly as a result, there was and still is a big diversity problem in a lot of companies here and around and in tech. And so StreetCode Academy is since it started 2.5-3 years ago. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it brings experienced coders and designers and entrepreneurs from all over Silicon Valley and universities to teach hack, hustle, and design. So programming, hack, hustle, design, we got our shirts. So programming and just computer science more generally, hustle in the sense of design, entrepreneurship, and design, to equip our students to bring their creative genius to the broader world. So
you're a teacher here, right, Matt?
Yeah.
And Shauna, what's your role here?
I am. I got hired on to help with recruitment and retention, and now I'm called the program director. I want to make sure that all of the engineers are just super happy that they can help the students shine, and so. That's what I do.
And so right now, like if I'm going to come to we're at a StreetCode meeting right now. There's a enormous number of people outside this room, from teeny tiny little kids up to adults, running around in room after room after room, doing all kinds of amazing things. I barely understood what was happening, but there was energy everywhere and computers everywhere and technology everywhere. Shauna, what's going on? What's a typical night at StreetCode like?
So last night we had about 200 incubator students that attended, 200, and out of that 200, about 30 that visited us from Oregon. Some students that came that followed that are just taking a big tour in Silicon Valley and heard about all the wonderful things that Olatunde has been doing from his hometown. And then we had a couple of other families from a couple 170 other people coming in. And so that's what our Mondays and Wednesdays look like. It's pretty packed and intense. We also have a large portion of that group of the students and volunteers from different places like Google, Facebook, Yale, Harvard, Stanford is a majority, Robin Hood, Palantir.
Yeah, Stanford's nearby, right?
Stanford is nearby. We're just they're just about maybe less than 2 miles or 3 miles from here. And so we are powered by people who really have this frequency inside of them for change, care, and a disruption in a good way of making things a little bit more balanced in the world. And we've got just a really wonderful group of folks like Matt and a lot of Googlers and things of that sort. And so Hack is everything computers. Right now we're teaching TechX, which is tech exposure. And that's one of the classes that is really dear to my heart. It's full of seniors, people with a lot of wisdom, but have been left in the shadows in regards to technology. A lot of Latinos who barely speak any English, who've been working really hard. A guy that works in BMW for about 20-something years, never knew how to open his emails, now knows how to open an email, and he's a facilities manager.
So the spectrum of education goes from what we consider very entry-level computer skills all the way to career engineering paths, right? I mean, that's all going on here?
So tech exposure is everything from like learning how to turn your hardware on to 100 would be how to run Google's G Suite or Google Drive.
Okay, what about within the academy itself? Like, I mean, do you have folks that are going into coding here?
Oh, yes. Yeah, of course. So tech exposure is information technology, how to use existing technologies like email, like Google, like G Suite, like all those, and just computers in general. And then there's computer science on top of that.
Okay.
So there's, for example, I teach, or I'm the lead teacher, one of many teachers working in the hack games class, which is an introduction to computer science fundamentals through making games, making simple games. So that's kind of more the intro side. It's also an introduction to computer science through blockchain. It's pretty interesting. New class where it's kind of introducing kind of computer science concepts through building things and also talking about how blockchain works in cryptocurrencies. And it's kind of a cool class that Robbie runs. And all the way up to, like, for example, in the past we had StreetCode Accelerator. We had students who basically just took the entire summer, went absolutely all in, and built apps, built a couple games, but like mostly apps and businesses out of it.
Okay.
And so we have people all kind of running the gamut from learning how to type, learning how to email, to more advanced.
And you've got people, you said, starting businesses out of here?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, so we had like everything $2, bang, bang. We got there's a good number of businesses that have
No kidding.
Yeah, so we also have a class that's called Web Servers, and that's also an amazing cohort within itself. We have a gentleman by the name of Jare, who's a wonderful engineer, and the backstory about him is that he grew up, wasn't able to play a lot outside, and all he did was code because his parents was, like just a lot of stuff going on in the outside world. And he came through our doors. He's he works for Robinhood, which is a really pretty cool startup if you want to check it out. And the story about him is that what people don't know, there's two people running the back end, and Jari is one of them. He decided that it was important for people to understand how to hold and compress and keep your own systems and your own servers and your own information. And so now he teaches a class here. We also are teaching Scheme with Kaylin, and then we have a huge component, which is Junior World, which is about probably 40% of our program, and about 60 kids that come and play in there. And in that, we have Junior Hack, Junior Design, and then Free Flow, which is learning how to think these concepts. And so people would say, oh, he's just ornery or he has ADHD. But what we're finding is that they're able to put these ideas together or follow instructions where they're putting and following this design project that we're having and just coming out on top. And then also playtime. We also want the children to know that there's a time to play too, and then add that into the curriculum.
So how does play affect learning about software engineering and technology, guys? What's the role of play in that?
For one thing, let's see, great question. For one thing, I mean, of course, there's a joy, at least in games, in classes where you're making games, of playing your own games, finding the bugs, and like playtesting your own. But in terms of play, we love to, as much as possible to use games and reviews, not just be in front of the computer the whole time, but to be, games where, like, for example, one of the things we've used to introduce just basic programs and commands and stuff is with a robot named Carol. It's inspired, I know people brought it over from a Stanford assignment, but basically, so at Stanford, there's a lot of stuff on the computer. But what StreetCode did is, I think one of the classes last year, they basically made gigantic grids out of tape on the ground outside. Everyone would come outside and actually like walk through the instructions themselves. It's a giant giant piece of paper, whiteboards, write down what the instructions. One person write down what the person should do and say like, so move forward, turn right, move forward, put down the beeper, and use like while loops and variables and basically like have more and more abstracted and complex instructions.
Yeah.
That you actually that are modeling what you do with a computer and actually could do with in an environment with this little bot called Carol. But instead of just kind of coding and trying to figure out, you're actually like feeling it out in a giant way outside.
Shauna, what brought you here into this community? What made you believe in this and want to be a part of it?
So my parents are activists. We've been here since about 1980, and then
When you say been here, you mean in Palo Alto?
East Palo Alto, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
Where were you before then?
So we were in Milpitas, and then my parents traveled here and found a cheaper home to purchase. And then my mom was immediately thrown into community activism because there's just a lot of immigrants here. And so being Pacific Islander, my dad is Tong and my mom is Samoan, there's just this compassion of like, hey, we need to help people. Let's see if we can help them. And that just stuck with my parents, and so the coconut doesn't fall far from the tree. And so I did the same thing. And so I'd been doing a lot of not coding, computer coding. I'd been doing a lot of community coding, community
Okay.
programming, and I had done, and I'm also a consumer of that since I was young. I kind of got burnt from it, and then I said to myself, there's an opportunity. My cousin, who's also on the board here, said, you need to really, get back into it. And this is a really great program. I knew about them, and I had judged a lot of their competitions and supported them, but I never was in it as far as like coming in and recruiting. I immediately said no. And my mom, being a very strong person, was like, "You're not going to say no. You've done everything that you can do in other parts of this community. You've never stepped your game up as far as technology, and you need to challenge yourself. And then your skill sets can help open the doors for others who may not think it's important and or have been left behind. You need to take this." And so I started off at 10 hours a week, which I went and did like maybe 80, 70, 60. I didn't care. I just was like,
Yeah,
I just want to
sure.
go. And so it's just been the same. And I don't want to ever, I just almost regret that I said no, but I'm like, I'm here. And so taking all of this experience and living and breathing through it, because I feel the same way too. And I was just telling you, like, I love the program. It's so good that sometimes I want to quit and just be in the program, because I'm like,
Be a part of what's going on here.
I'm like,
instead of having
I
to-
want to quit.
Yeah, that's different. And when we came in, you run it in a very exuberant way. We came in here, circle of people. You're introducing folks with tremendous enthusiasm. You opened with prayer. I was interested in that. Where did that come from?
So there's this part of StreetCode that I, again, it just gravitated. It just brought me more to be in love with it, because there's an ethos to what they do that's not just innovation. It touches the more human side, right? We can talk computers and mechanics and engineering all day, but at the end of the day, I want to make sure that we're also coding our hearts. And so adding these components or having these components and having a circle up as our brain, doing the announcements, and we get together and we have a feel of what everybody's feeling, how's everything doing. These are announcements in the communities, and then pray and then eat. It's a good start. It's a good way to just say, hey, if that's all we did,
Yeah.
and you don't get anything else, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, the community ate together. Everybody sat down together. There's a
Right.
food truck outside, and with incredible shawarma. You said Facebook takes care of that. That's part of. Are they a sponsor of the organization?
Yeah, so we were blessed to have this building that we have for 6 weeks, and they have a wonderful policy team that's been advocating for a place, advocating for people that may feel displaced, and just changes in regards to how this bad imprint has been with tech companies coming into areas that have a lot of gentrification and issues. And so they were wonderful to give us a warehouse for 6 weeks. And in that, we have a micro kitchen. We have about 11 rooms with a big, huge conference room and a big middle room. And we also get food trucks every day.
I'd like to ask both of you guys about this. For folks, a lot of our listeners and viewers don't live in the Bay Area and may not understand what you're talking about when you talk about, at the beginning you'd mentioned Palo Alto and the kind of wealth divide that exists here in town. And again, you mentioned gentrification in the area. Can you just explain briefly, just concisely for folks who aren't familiar with it, some of the issues around that in this particular part of the country?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'm trying to think how deep to go into the history of East Palo Alto.
I wouldn't go too deep. Just give
Yeah.
folks an understanding of what's happened here over the last couple of decades.
So originally, of course, there were the Native Americans, and then it came back where there were a lot of Caucasian and like Asians. There was grow houses here with flowers and things of that sort. And then from that came a big African American population that followed the work at the airports and the docks and things of that sort. Couldn't afford the city, and then wanted to come find here. In that, all of the people that worked at the airport, the Tongans and everything, they just started coming here. And then in the 80s, it was just, that's all it looked like here. In the 90s also.
A very, very, very
More diverse heavy ethnic group, right? It suffered a lot during the Reaganomics era, and in 1992 we were the highest murder capita rate in the whole of the nation. For us to be 2.5 square miles, that was a lot. It was damaging, and we've always tried to rise again from that because we came from a lot of really great things. And in that, also with time and inflation and higher cost of living, with tech, things have just changed. And so there have been people that haven't been able to come back, kind of feel pushed out. Is that the word that they use? Feel like there's a lot of displacement, and then also that there hasn't been like a great inclusion in regards to the tech boom and things of that sort. And so when we use that word, that's what we're pertaining to. So people think that Palo Alto and East Palo Alto are the same city and that we're just the east side of Palo Alto, which we are, but we are two very different cities.
And independently incorporated, right?
Independently incorporated, and two whole different separate counties. So the average income for a person in San Mateo County is supposed to be like $129,000, and the average family in East Palo Alto that are Hispanic, Latino, Pacific Islander, it's probably less than $29,000. So it's a huge difference. And this is not just happening here, it's happening everywhere, obviously.
Yeah. So StreetCode is one effort to respond to what's happening there. How does that all fit into the mission of this organization, guys?
Yeah, well, like for one thing, I mean, it's like when East Palo Alto became independently incorporated as its own community, it's like we are a community, we're a community of color, and we want to be able to, be deciding our own policies. And Palo Alto said, okay, great, we're going to take your entire economic base as part of us, and you just keep residential. And so basically, it's been very tough since then for East, I guess, logistically speaking, for at least with education being funded by property taxes and by all these things that we're taken back into Palo Alto.
Yeah.
The kinds of things that Palo Alto can supply through just the regular school system is for free to their students is something that is very, very difficult with given the resources that East Palo Alto has.
Yeah, in Palo Alto, for folks that don't know, the companies based there would include groups like who's in Palo Alto.
It was like in Palo Alto proper.
Yeah.
I mean, like loads and loads of startups.
Yeah.
I'm thinking like in the general vicinity, you got Facebook, Google, Palantir, Airbnb, I believe. But like in Palo Alto proper,
this area, one of the wealthiest areas in the country in terms of corporate wealth. Yeah, it's an extraordinary. And this is something that's this is an issue in our area that I didn't understand before I moved here. I came from outside. I haven't lived here very long, and I still don't understand. I don't want to give the impression that I completely comprehend just how much is going on. I mean, until you said this 10 minutes ago, I didn't realize East Palo Alto and Palo Alto were different towns. I had no idea. Yeah. But this organization working to change things by giving people skills, tools, lessons. What's this going to do to change things?
Yeah, well, for one, it's showing that like you give these, give the tools. You work with someone to give them to kind of guide them, give them the tools to build these things that they want to build. Like you see people coming in with these genius ideas and these amazing small businesses and community startups and stuff that they want to do, and like I just don't know how to code it yet. And like for example, we have things like Google, someone was saying, Google Express is great, but it doesn't really serve, the communities like mine that well. I want to, and meanwhile, you have people like going out to corner stores, like, grandmas and so on, going to corner stores and paying an arm and a leg for things that they could have gotten for, they could have gotten delivered to their door for cheaper. Mm-hmm. And so we had, Lavelle Russell starting everything $2, which basically Google Shopping Express for the hood, he said. Basically, he made his own website with StreetCode, and I was actually I actually ordered when I was and had some folks check it out, and like he actually had drivers delivering stuff to people's doorstep through a site that he made in collaboration with StreetCode. Things like I don't want to give people's ideas too much, because they're still working on it.
Yeah, let people work on it. Let's not spoil anybody's entrepreneurial ideas here yet.
Yeah, but
so we have young Brian, who's 7 and started with us in February, and then he created 3 apps using App Inventor.
Yeah.
There's just so many that just come through the door that you're like, wow. So the thing is, if you keep it consistent, it just all, and you just help dust off the fears, that I don't think I can, or I don't think I could do it, or I've been told that I'm not, and literally we every day find a story like what he says every single day. If we could have a camera follow us, you'd be amazed. I cry constantly, and everyone thinks I'm a big crybaby, but it's like I have no way to express the level of this is why we do it, and that like you are a superhero. You literally need to just dust it off, and let's just keep going. And as we keep these doors open, and however long that we can do it, I don't care if we have to stay till 2 a.m. Let's just keep you coding and consistent. Because if we were to compare the two cities, like Palo Alto and East Palo Alto, the problem is that there's not a consistency with the hood kids, right? There hasn't been a consistency in like the education, the financial stability, down to nutrition and all these other things that it's like, you're just not stable with that, right? And you have a mom that's working 3, 4, 5 jobs and you can't even pay attention to how you're reading. If I could just take all of that away and just have you understand that you can come here to get this level of food, love, care, nurture, this personal development and stuff, and then we're also doing the coding. We're also letting you think of these ideas that you probably didn't think of, and so you'll see when you come, the 2 others that come in here, they're going to be way over 18, but they're like, oh, I came out of my shell because of this, and I'm actually bringing out my dreams that I forgot, in that I'm actually going to make it happen. And that's what we live for, whatever age. So it's 3 to 80, all kinds of people.
Yeah, and one kind of, and also I talk about entrepreneurship a little bit, but intrapreneurship too. Like we had someone one of our first students, basically who I think was working at Home Depot, David Chapman,
Yeah.
he was like working at Home Depot before this,
Yeah.
and said, it's like, that's, it's like a negative resume. Like you can't go to a tech company and say, like, where'd you work? Like Home Depot, it's like almost like a scratch against you. And so he went to, came through StreetCode, did code camp, kept working, and ended up, getting a design job at Facebook. And he ended up, when some stuff was going on, during the height of the Black Lives Matter movement, there was there's some stuff going on, and he basically ended up writing something that ended up becoming the most widely shared post within all of Facebook on this. I think it was one particular group, but like the most, and then like the number 2 most shared post was a response to that. Number 3 was a repost of it. Like this was David Chapman, someone who's in our program, came and really like ended up leading to some really big things.
He had a voice that ended up being heard.
Yeah, he had a voice. Yeah,
and I works there in that. But what brought you here? I asked Shauna how she came into the company, but what brought you to StreetCode?
I was a freshman at Stanford. I was sitting in a coffee house at Stanford, and this guy comes up with a big tray full of chocolate chip cookies, and he said, "Hey, would you like a cookie?" And he said, "Oh, this is a nice offer. Like, are you waiting? Like free things?" Like, "No, I just got these cookies and just giving them out." Like, "Do you work here?" He's like, "No, I just got one." Like, "Of course I do." So I got one. I got his name. Turned out that was Shadi Barhumi, who went on to start StreetCode.
The guy who started StreetCode brought you cookies.
Yes, he hadn't started StreetCode at the time. This is just like,
was he just randomly handing out cookies?
He was just randomly handing out cookies, and it's just like kind of a gregarious, awesome, kind person that he is. And so next time I saw him, like, "Hey, you're the guy who gave me a free cookie," and we quickly became friends. And then I found out, and when he said, "Hey, we're in the same dorm," and I sent out an email saying, "Hey, we're looking for teachers for StreetCode Academy, this thing we're doing," and I have had a bit of a background in teaching before, absolutely love it, and I've been meaning to get into teaching computer science, particularly in a meaningful, impactful way, and when I found out that not only was this an amazing opportunity, but also that Shadi and Raphael, a good friend of his, who was also starting, we're all in it and getting it going. I'm like, this is it, and it's been an amazing family to be a part of ever since.
And you're a student at
Stanford University.
Stanford right now, so you volunteer here. Guys, thank you so much for giving me this time to tell these stories. We're actually we're going to bring some students in here in a minute and ask them a little bit about what they've been doing here. Thank you for sharing your stories about what you're up to here. When I found out about the group. I just really wanted to meet y'all and find out more about what you're doing. Thank you for giving the time for that. And thank you all so much for watching and listening. This is the point in the show when we thank our Patreon producers, particularly Nick Rie and Robert Nieder, for their generous support, and all the rest of you who make Pockets Full of Soup possible. We're into season 2 now, and if you have a story you want to tell that you'd like read on the air or not, send it to mail@pocketsfullofsoup.com. That's mail@pocketsfullofsoup.com. As for y'all, before you get off, if folks want to know more about StreetCode or the things you're working on, where can they go?
So you could come to www.streetcode.us. It's streetcode.us, and there's a place where you can pledge, donate, and or volunteer, and or if you want to take classes, this is available for everyone. We're going to take a little bit of a break and come back in the fall. And then also, if you would like to reach us via email, it's info@streetcode.us, info@streetcode.us, and we just thank you very much. Anyone out there that is interested in joining us in this digital movement that we're making in regards to just a small tweak and helping out others who just may not have the opportunity, and we just really want to thank you for giving us this opportunity, Mr. Jared.
Oh, I'm just happy to have you all on here. I'm really thank you for letting me visit. I can't wait to meet the students. Anybody got anything else they want to say before we?
No, I'm good.
You're good.
Well, I guess. I mean, just like think two of your earlier questions. One about in terms of like more advanced students, or like getting more advanced, and two was like playfulness. Well, one was like how does play factor into this? I realize we can kind of talking about a lot of serious things, but one thing that is core, I think, is in terms of play, is just improv games and just like coming together, like not just spending the entire time working or teaching or whatever, is just getting together and getting it all out with some crazy thing that just gets your mind like not self-correcting, because that's in the end, like that is kind of a lot of the spirit of what we do. Is it's like there's no like, yes, with encoding in particular, like there's if you type in something that the computer doesn't understand or can't compile, then it's going to have an error. But that's not necessarily. But it's not like you're getting a wrong answer and you're like, oh, bad. That's an opportunity to learn and just keep going. And that's what kind of like yes and kind of attitude of like, oh, this kind of thing flopped. The thing I did in the improv game kind of flopped, but someone could build on top of that. I can learn from that. I can go from there. Is this kind of like mind-opening thing that we want people to be coming at coding with and design with and hustle with, is not just like, oh, I gotta like get correct, but really be generative and let their creativity drive what they're doing.
That's awesome. That's a great place to move the transition. Thank you so much, y'all. All right, well, we'll be right back with some of StreetCode Academy students. Thank you so much for watching. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. I'm your host, Jared, and I'm here with two new guest students here at StreetCode Academy. On my left,
Jay Thomas.
And on his left,
Rebecca Matthews.
That's right. And both y'all are students here. Jay Thomas, how long have you been a student at StreetCode?
It's been within the last month.
Oh, just a month for you? Wow.
Yes, I'm a neophyte.
A neophyte here. Yes. Oh, that word. I love it. There are words I love. I love words that have weird combinations of letters, and anything with like N-E-O and then a Y in it all together. Like I told the other day, my favorite word is juxtapose. There's J, X, a U, and S. Those don't belong together.
Exactly.
Neophyte sounds the same way. I like it. What about you, Rebecca? How long have you been coming here?
I've been here since January this year.
So January this year. And both of you are in here. You have your phones with you. You have developed applications. These are things you've developed while you're here or after? Maybe let's start with Rebecca. Rebecca, what do you have
While
here?
I'm here, I developed this app, and the students were excellent in helping me, assisting me in developing this app. I'm just so proud of it. I just love it. I love StreetCode.
Really? So let's talk about for a second what you developed here. It says, what is it?
It is an app for our community development, where I'm an executive director, and we have events going on. Takes you through what we're doing. And it shows our donors too, and information about our where our location is.
So that was January. It's July when we're recording this. Did you know coding before you came in here?
No, I had. Let me see. What's that? A little bit of a really, I forgot the name of the program, and it was like one sentence on hello.
Hello world type stuff. Okay.
Yeah, hello world.
What about you, Jay Thomas? You said you've been here a month, but you're here showing something off. What do you got?
Well, this is the Docs Around the Clock. It's a platform, an e-health platform to enable patients and doctors to have consultations online, be it a tablet, be it a handheld device of any type, a smartphone, or a computer, PC.
Nice.
And did you code before you came here?
Have no idea what coding is all about.
So you did you learned this in a month?
In a month, I was able to start to ramp up and understand what's going on with my platform.
No kidding. So what attracted you to this?
Prior to coming here, I was involved in what was called medical specialty management,
Okay.
where I would enable doctors to be placed strategically in facilities or medical centers or other doctors' practices where their specialties were needed and necessary.
Okay.
So this was a natural to come into a space where health and tech was melded.
How'd you find out about StreetCode?
I found out about StreetCode from my wife.
Okay.
Yes.
Did she attend here originally?
No,
or?
she's a techie.
Okay.
She's a techie.
Okay.
But I believe in the effort to get me up to speed, she pointed me in the direction of StreetCode.
I also learned about StreetCode from my wife.
Incredible.
Yeah, that's the same
They're
way.
the gifts that keep giving.
Yeah,
aren't they?
she also works in technology or is studying technology, and she's like, you have to meet this incredible group of people. So,
Yes.
Rebecca, how about you? What brought you into StreetCode?
Well, Tunde came by my brother's church in East Palo Alto, St. Samuel Church of God in Christ, and his wife and his little family, and it was around Christmas time,
Okay.
December. And he talked about coding. We're right over there, right around almost around the corner from where.
Beautiful.
And I was like, what? This is a golden opportunity. I'm going to take advantage of it. So I come every class
No kidding.
and learn.
So that's 5 days a week, or
No, twice a week.
or twice a week. Okay, I know they
Mondays
have
and
different-
Wednesdays.
Mondays and Wednesdays. 'Cause I know there's some they have Friday field trips and they have some different
Yes.
schedule for different groups. So,
Yes.
So you were what drew you to it, Rebecca? What made you interested in this?
Because if I had an app for my program, I thought it would be interesting to people to download, you know, and to keep up with what we're doing.
And you mentioned your community program. What are the details of your program? What do you do? What is your passion that you're spending your days working toward?
Oh, there are 4,300 truant kids in the city of Oakland. So, and there are homelessness. So we work on trying to diminish the homelessness by with a STEAM program.
Okay.
And we have a STEAM Academy, which is science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. So we're opening up classes to the truant kids so that they will get interest, because we partnered with Project We Hope, who has a van, and the van helps the homeless wash their clothes, dry their clothes, and take a shower.
Okay.
And it's a mobile van, and it's coming to our church. So we'll have that. We'll be able to feed them because we'll have a food van there.
Okay.
And a medical van.
No kidding.
Yeah, to help the homeless. But if those 4,300 students don't get education or a viable means of supporting themselves, then they'll be out on the street homeless too. And there's
Absolutely.
150 encampments, homeless encampments in the city of Oakland. It's just proportionate, out of proportion.
It's extraordinary. I for folks that haven't been in the Bay Area, or I used to live in D.C., which has likewise a huge homeless population. It's difficult to get your mind around driving through major American cities and seeing the contrast between the extraordinary wealth
Yes.
and then in Oakland or San Francisco or D.C. driving through and just being suddenly you're in the middle of a tent village.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there's no line of division. It's just part of town. And people are living their lives there. And so this is a way of getting that word out. And this is a way
Yes.
of working on that.
One
Now,
of the many vehicles.
one of the many vehicles. I like that. Now, what
Beautiful.
about you? Chispa? You come from a very different mission. You've been working in medicine. Your wife's
Yes.
in technology.
Yes.
So what brought you into this? You said it was kind of a natural meeting, and she got you there.
Sure.
So what's the end game here for you? What's the goal?
The end game is enabling the healthcare system, which in this day and time appears to be a focal point of national discussion, amongst the focal points
Absolutely.
of national discussion, along with poverty and homelessness and
Yes.
education, to bring that to a place where the doctors as well as the patients see a way forward alongside or in conjunction with tech. I believe that during the Great Recession of a few years ago, one of the two industries that sustained themselves very well was tech as well as health. Hollywood did well because we needed some way to detach
Yeah.
from all of the money that we weren't making. But two strong suits that the nation had at that time,
Yeah.
and remains still today, and would sustain itself, I believe, again, if we went into another, God forbid, great recession, would be health and tech. The melding of the two just makes it a twofer, just twice as strong. So here now we have health tech and e-health. It's a platform which is a way forward, because sooner or later, if the local doctors in these communities don't get on board and find a way to touch on the people that are in urban situations that are less than desirable, or rural situations where they don't have the access, the physical access on ground, then online is the way to turn to, and to bring everybody together. It's bringing the world together. Why
Interesting.
not the people together? And why not the people where their health is together?
So this is a show about thankfulness and the people and the things we're thankful for. We're here. You've given a significant chunk of your time and your lives to picking up new skills, developing new skills, so that you can move forward in the things that are important to you. Move forward in advocacy of medicine. Move forward in advocacy of what's going on in your community. Move forward in continuing to learn to do new things. What are you thankful for about this place and these people around you? Your fellow students, your teachers, the folks you've gotten to know through StreetCode. What are you thankful for?
Oh my God. I am an avid believer that this area, Silicon Valley, Facebook, Google, all of the other companies that are here are allowing the world to stand at the forefront of a new frontierism. Just like the Industrial Revolution, this is a new frontierism, and this is where it starts. I'm thankful for the opportunity that we have to be here in this space, in this time, to add to as well as take from this new world frontierism that we have here.
That's an
Wow.
extraordinarily optimistic assessment of the situation.
Absolutely.
But it's awesome. It's awesome. Like Jay just said, that the opportunity is invaluable. You know, I've been a techie for quite some time. I used to work in the Silicon Valley, and I could see the disparity between the haves and the have-nots. And it was like, well, we got to do something to bridge that gap.
Yeah.
So, StreetCode.
Oh my God.
I can't express how valuable it is to have StreetCode in this neighborhood.
Yeah.
Not only here, I think it needs to be across the nation, because what will our children learn if they're left behind in the digital village? I mean, in the digital age. You know, what will they do? How will they make money? How will they be able to succeed and compete in the world, you know, without the same financial status that their peers are having? I think it's just, it'll be, the gap will just get larger. And there'll be more homeless people. There'll be more people on the street, kids on the street getting into gangs and things that they shouldn't be getting into. You know, we need to turn the tide. We need to engage the kids into something that will help their future.
So this is that happening in one place, and you feel like this is something that needs to be
absolutely
happening
because
in 1,000.
it's from age 4 to 90.
Absolutely.
94.
Absolutely.
You know,
Who's the oldest student here, do you think?
she's 80 something.
God bless her.
And your youngest is
4 years
3,
old.
4, somewhere around there, 4 years old? Wow.
Yeah,
Incredible.
And wrote an app.
Yeah.
The 4-year-old wrote an app.
Oh, that's great.
I brought my second generation daughter and my second generation son here. Oh, they were staying with me for a week, and so they got a chance to come for 2 days.
Okay.
And when the second day, I said, "We're going to StreetCode." I love StreetCode.
I was extraordinarily fortunate, and I grew up in the early 1980s in Washington D.C. in a fairly affluent school system. There was money in the school system, in a marvelously multicultural group of students. I was really fortunate. So hearing many languages spoken. Everybody looked different. Everybody came from a different place. It was extraordinary. But I was also fortunate because we had computers before most schools did. And they taught programming classes. I am a lousy coder. But what I know from that foundation. And it has improved my life significantly, the beginning I was given there. I can't begin to be thankful enough for it.
Yeah.
It's helped mold. To this day, I remain kind of entwined in technology professionally and passionately, and it all started with that first step, having an
This is tech.
But if it hadn't been there,
Sure.
who knows?
Sure.
And tech is all around us, you know. I was talking to someone the other day, and they were talking about sound design, and I was like, "What's sound design?" Everything that you hear on your phone, the little beeps and that we take for granted.
Yeah.
You know, somebody had to design that.
Yep.
Sure.
The beeps and boops all come from
Exactly.
somewhere. They're all being
Exactly.
engineered. It's amazing. I love
Exactly.
working with tools
And
for that.
when StreetCode has design, you know, those kids get in there and they start off with making things,
Yeah.
you know, designing things.
Sure.
And then they take that imagination and they can put it into making an app or bettering their neighborhood or bettering their schoolwork or, you know, you never know what a child has in their mind
Exactly.
until you put them to work at something, you
Exactly.
Yeah, this
So-
is fantastic. I thank you for being willing to come on here and share your stories and talk about what you're doing here and in your lives. Any beyond anything you want to plug? Anything you want to draw attention to?
Well, I believe that you really touched on it. That your fondest and earliest memories of tech were during your formative years in school. That being said, it carries on in a positive way because we always think about those were the brightest moments. And when the kids have their fingers on the pulse of such a strong, purposeful tool, dynamic as tech
Yes.
at a young age here, then we can smile upon what the future will look like.
Yes, that's what I would say.
Absolutely.
That's a marvelous coda for the
Absolutely.
episode right there. I
Yes.
think we're not going to do any better than that. We're going to
Okay.
stop now. So thank y'all so much for being here.
Quite welcome.
And thank you, friends, for watching and listening. Once again, our address is mail@pocketsfullofsoup.com. Have stories you want to tell about how good teachers and educational opportunities have helped you in your life, whether young or old, whether early or late in life. We want to hear them. Share them with us. Mail@pocketsfullofsoup.com, or you can hop on the Pockets Full of Soup Facebook group. It's free. Tell the story there. Put it on the comments for this section. Wherever you choose to do. We are extraordinarily thankful for you. Season 2 moves forward. New stories to tell. Exciting things happening. Until then, I wish you the best. Bye, friends.